What's up, you guys? We're back again with the Cherokee, and today we're going to be doing the slip yoke eliminator. We got all this from Rough Country. Rear lift is already on there, as you guys saw in the previous video. Now we're going to do the slip yoke, and then we're going to work on the front end. So let me take all this out of the boxes, and then we'll show you what we got. Transmission cross member with the brackets for the long arm kit. We ordered the drive shaft to go with the slip yoke. So this is from Rough Country. And then this is the slip yoke eliminator kit. So this goes on your transfer case. The little gear for the speedometer thing, the yoke, and the shaft. It's crazy because this doesn't have any instructions. The only thing that does come with instructions is the drive shaft, which I would think it would be the other way around, since this is kind of easy to install, I guess. The slip yoke shaft. No instructions to install the slip yoke eliminator. That's all that comes in the box. And then there's this. The others are for the, I don't know what. Doesn't say anything on this, but this, I think this was in the drive shaft box. So this is for the transfer case. I think it's like a shield thing. So let's get underneath the Jeep and start removing the transfer case. We're underneath the Jeep, and this is the transfer case right here. So what we're gonna start off by doing is removing the drive shaft. This is the rear drive shaft, and this is the front drive shaft. So this has 8mm bolts right here. It's 2 here and 2 on the other side. We're gonna put the transfer case in neutral and rotate this, and then we're gonna go ahead and remove those 8mm right there. Pull this drive shaft out, and this one only has 2 there and 2 there, so this one just slides out. Make sure you put something on the tire so the Jeep won't rotate and move. Once you remove these, nothing is holding it. With both drive shaft removed, we're gonna go ahead and remove the 13mm bolts. There's 4 of them that hold the transmission mount to the cross member. And then we're gonna remove 4 15mm bolts right here. Well, 2 nuts and 2 bolts. With a little bit of pressure on the transmission, we have it on a piece of wood in the jack, having a little support because this is gonna drop and we don't want the transmission to fall with it. So we're holding the transmission up a little bit. Next, we're gonna remove both 18mm bolts that hold the transmission mount to the transmission. With the transmission mount out of the way, we're gonna try to tap this bracket that holds the muffler to the isolator here. Gonna try to tap it off so we can get to all the bolts without an issue. Because there's one right here that holds the tcase to the transmission. We didn't have any luck removing this, so we're just gonna leave it out of the way like this. And we're gonna go ahead and remove the plug off of the speedo, and also this harness right here has to come off, I think. So once this is off, this vent tube has to come off. This linkage has to come off as well. Now we're gonna get to all the bolts that hold it onto the transmission, and it should be able to come off easily. Well, actually that clip has to come off as well, the one that's holding this harness. If I'm not mistaken, we already got all the bolts out. There was 5 that we could get to. I don't see any more, so I'm gonna try to pry it off. I don't think it should be too heavy. Let's give it a try. We were wrong. There was actually another 14mm right here, so you could follow this, and that's right behind it. We had to drop the muffler, well, the exhaust, to get to that because there wasn't enough space to give it some leverage. So now we should be able to remove this We're gonna have to do it with 2 hands. So we got the transfer case on the table. This is the little clip that has to come off so that the harness isn't stuck to the transfer case. Or you could just remove this little plastic from up here. So now we are going to start off by just removing this gear. Just remember exactly where it goes so you won't have any issues with the speed on your cluster. We're probably gonna put like some ink, some paint, maybe like this and here, so we can remember. We got to drain the oil, so we're gonna do that now. So this is the filler plug up here, and then this bottom one is the drain. Next we're going to remove these 3 15mm bolts. With that out of the way, we can remove this clip right here. With that clip off, we could go ahead and remove all 10mm around this. A couple down here. With this removed, we could go ahead and remove all the bolts around this case. Just be careful because there is a little tube that goes in here to that pump. To this one right here. So you're going to be able to disconnect it before you pull the whole thing out. I just set it over here on this. Now, I think these are like size 15. Yeah, size 15. With all the 15s removed, you could go ahead and pry this off. Just be careful so you won't damage the surface where this comes in contact with the cover. We're gonna take this off with the impact. Only one of these fits on here. And then we grab that with something and then we'll pull this loose. With the yoke out of the way, we could go ahead and pull both of these up. So I'm gonna use both of my hands to do that, and then we're gonna lay it here on the side. With this out of the way, we're gonna go ahead and inspect the bearings. These seem pretty good. We're also going to clean out this magnet. And we're also going to check everything over here on this side. Everything looks like it's pretty good, so we're just going to spray all this with brake cleaner because there is some debris in there. Get all this fluid out. So make sure you don't lose any of this. We're gonna set the magnet aside, and you have to put this back the same way you took it out, except for this side. So check your chain, make sure your chain is good. I don't even know how you could check these chains, but this had like a good amount of play. So this is what came with the kit. This is the new speed thing that was on here, and then it has a small rubber washer, the big one, and then 2 of these lock rings, 2 big ones and 2 small ones. And this is the little plug for the new cover and the new nut for the yoke, for the new yoke. So I'm gonna take this off of the chain so we could get to removing those gears. So we're gonna have to start off by removing this lock ring right here on this side, and everything should slide out. So this is the side by side of the shaft. It's about 1 inch shorter, 1.5 inches shorter. Now we're gonna slide the gears back onto this one, the new one. We're gonna be using this. So this is the lock ring that came off. Where is it? I don't know where it's at, but oh, it's this one. It's a little bent. We're not gonna use that. So make sure when you install it, you put the big one on, because that's what it had. So install this new one on here. We got the gears in and we got the lock ring in place. So now we're gonna go ahead and clean the magnet. Actually, we're gonna clean the housing. We're gonna spray all this down so we can start assembling everything and put it back together. On 95 and earlier years, these gears on these transfer cases, they had some needle bearings inside that had to be pressed out for this shaft to go in. On this one's a 95, and it didn't come with it. I don't know why, but we were able to just fit the shaft in there without removing any needle bearings or anything. So if the gears aren't going in, it's because of the bearings, so make sure you remove those. So now we're gonna put some RTV and throw the other half on. Make sure you don't forget to put your magnet on here, and also on this half, make sure you put your screen back on like so. So I think we're gonna RTV this side, which will be easier, and then put the cover on. Now we got the top half back on. This is the shaft that we were measuring for, and we're gonna put the oil pump back on. Make sure you're able to slide that all the way into the pump. We got the pump in, make sure that that's seated all the way. Now we're gonna put this lock clip all the way down here. And then after that's gonna be the speedo gear, and then the last clip up here. We put a little bit of oil on this. Now we're gonna clean this whole surface and put the last piece on, which is this one. We're done torquing these bolts for this cover. We torqued these at 23 foot-pounds and we torqued these at 25 foot-pounds. You have to look up your specific model and stuff. We just felt comfortable doing these at those torque specs, so that's what we did. We're gonna throw some thread sealer on this, and then we're gonna put this plug right here. I guess this is for like some vacuum stuff on some XJ models. Next, we're gonna put the speedo gear in. And we're gonna put some transmission fluid right there on that little O-ring, so it can slide in. Took us a bit to get it in there, but we got it, and we were able to get it all the way in. So remember in the beginning we did that little marking right there to the case, so we know that that's where it lines up. Now we're gonna put the little lock piece right here along with the bolt and run the bolt all the way in. I guess we have to spin it a little bit, so we're gonna have to adjust it and then put the locking thing in. Next, we're gonna install the two yokes, the new one for the rear, and we're gonna reuse the old one for the front. So we're gonna put some transmission fluid here and some RTV on the splines. We're gonna slide it in here like that and torque it to 150. Also for the one in the rear, we're gonna do the same thing, 150 with some transmission fluid on the outside and some RTV on the inside, so there won't be any leaks. Also a little bit of RTV right here on the nut before we put them on. So we got this torqued down and we have that torqued down. Now we're gonna switch this out of 4 low for the next piece that we're gonna be installing, which is this, the transfer case linkage. So this side is gonna go on here like that. So we're gonna go ahead and remove this nut once this isn't too high, and then we'll insert that new piece in here. This nut right here is a size 14, so you have to make sure this doesn't rotate when you're breaking it loose, because it's gonna want to turn on you. You're gonna pull it off all the way. And then this piece goes on here like this, like that. Kind of looks like we're gonna have an issue with this nut. Oh, actually we're not, because it still needs to get run down all the way. But on the instructions, I guess it says to start with the middle hole, and then if it, you know, depending on your lift and all that, you either use the lower one or the upper one. So we're gonna start off with this one first. We're gonna install the nut and the washer loosely before we actually tighten this all the way. With that in place, let's go over to the Jeep and install this piece. We're under the Jeep. That's the front of the Jeep. That's the back. So up here, we're going to have to pry this out from the actual lever thing right here, and also from here. So this whole shifting mechanism thing is gonna come off. See all this, all these rods and stuff, they're gonna come off. And from inside the Jeep, we're gonna get to these 10mm bolts. So there's 4 of them on this bracket. A lot of people just cut it off. We just want to remove the actual bracket. We're gonna have to lift up the carpet in there. Let's see if we could pry this off. So we got the rod off from here and out from here. Now I'm thinking we don't need this extra little cover here. See what it looks like back there. But I think we don't need it because that's only for that, for what I could tell. Hopefully I remember to tighten this bolt later on. But now that little rubber piece right here, we're gonna cut that off. We're not gonna need that anymore. So this piece that I showed you earlier goes on here like this with the bolt through that, like that. So the bolts for that bracket, they are somewhere around here. So we're gonna have to remove the seat and these panels to lift up the carpet enough to get to those 10mm bolts. So let me use the ratchet to get these off. So we got all these screws out. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we could kind of pry this out of the way a little bit. And we're going to get to the 2 Phillips head screws that are here to remove this panel. And then hopefully that's enough to pull up the carpet. So with the seat out, the kick panel out, and these screws off, we could pull up the carpet. And you can see the 10mm bolts right there. So we're gonna get 2 of those, remove all 4 of them, and then put everything back. Everything is back on, and these are the 4 bolts that you have to remove. From underneath, this is what falls off. This is the whole shift thing. So I guess you could just slide this off and even unbolt that little bracket right here. So now we have to find a way to plug up these bolts so water won't go in there. Now we're ready to throw the transfer case in here. One thing I forgot to mention is that we're gonna replace the seal that goes here between the transmission and the transfer case. So we picked this up at AutoZone. It was like $4. Since the transfer case is out, might as well replace it. This is the part number 225005. So we're gonna put a little bit of grease here on the outside, and we're gonna put transmission fluid here. So when this goes in, it will slide nicely onto the seal. And we're just gonna tap this in with the rubber mallet. Hopefully we're able to get it all the way in. Okay, so we got the transfer case in. Now we're going to install the new transmission mount. So this is the part number, and this is the new cross member. So we're gonna throw this on here, and then this is the transfer case skid plate, and this is the rear drive shaft. So all this is gonna go on. These are the bolts for the drive shaft. It's kind of hard showing you guys down there because there's not a lot of space. So I'm gonna throw all this on and then show you guys once everything is installed. So let me pull out this transmission mount, show you guys. With new nuts, so you don't have to use the old ones. And then it does have its left and right side. I honestly don't remember exactly how we took it off. We're gonna try it like this. No, actually like this. So with the front of the XJ over there, it's gonna be off center to the passenger side. Let's see if that works. If not, we'll just take it off and flip it around with the 2 bolts that go through here. Take these off. It got dark, so we're gonna have to show you with this little light that we have right here. But the drive shaft is in. We greased up the U-joints. This one. That one doesn't have the grease fitting, the one back there. But the drive shaft itself does right here, so we greased that up. The slip yoke is in. The new cross member is in as well. New transmission mount. The shift linkage is in. We already went through all the 4x4 stuff and it shifts pretty smooth. So everything is buttoned up right there. This is a new cross member with the long arm brackets right here. The muffler is in its place. It just has to be bolted up there in the front. The front drive shaft is not in because we're going to remove the front diff, because we're going to do the lift kit up in the front, and we want to get to the bushings and all that, so we're just going to remove the whole diff. We still need to top off the transfer case. Once it's level, we're going to come back here and top this off, so this one's not tight right here. And also the transfer case skid plate. I'll show you guys. This right here, we're not able to put it on because we didn't get the bolts that go to the cross member. So we're gonna have to run to Home Depot or something to get some of those bolts, and then we have to, I think, make a new hole here for one of the for the bracket to bolt up to the unibody. But other than that, everything else is on, ready to go. We use the same hardware right here on the unibody. Well, that's it for the new stuff from Rough Country, transmission mount and everything else that we installed. Make sure to check us out on Instagram at Yonke_OXE films. I'll leave that in the description down below, and we'll catch you in the next one.